Hi again. So we are still talking about cabinets. Today I'm going to have a brief conversation about custom cabinet makers. Now, I mentioned in the first video how much flexibility you will have with custom cabinet makers. I want to clarify a few things, some of these items that we'll get in more into detail later in later videos. But for the most part, I'm going to talk about door style. So your door style is one of the first things that you'll select in a cabinet layout or design. And that's between you and your designer. Most cabinet makers, and this is very important, most cabinet makers are not kitchen designers. They will have a lot of good, helpful input about what can work or not work when you come to tight spaces and corners. Where they've run into issues, where they've had to do rebuilds over the years. This is very, very important information, and you definitely want to take heed the advice of your custom cabinet maker if he puts forward information that will help you in the overall functionality of your kitchen and each and every cabinet. So this cabinet behind me is what we call a finished interior, prepped for glass, because these doors have no, let's see my hand through it. This is prepped for glass, and a finished interior, which is an add-on, regardless if you're doing custom or not, because when you have glass on the front, you want the inside to be the same color as the outside. Otherwise, what you get is a maple interior. Typically, you will have a maple finish interior unless otherwise specified. So that's your basic. Most cabinet construction, regardless if you're doing semi-custom or custom, is going to be half-inch plywood boxes. That means that the sides and the back are going to be half-inch, quarter-inch, or three-quarter-inch. Typically, your backs might not be as thick as the sides. They're there for structural stability, and also in face frames when you're talking a framed cabinet. And so here's a framed cabinet. Again, this cabinet package, this is your frame. It has a little bit of a lip, just so that you can see that there. That is a face frame, very traditional style cabinet. Still, most of the cabinets that we do in the United States are framed. Frameless is another look entirely, and it's a lot of people call it a European style. And then here we're going to show you frameless. Let me see if I can show it to you here. So there we go. Okay, sorry about that. So here is the frameless. That means all you get is the sides and the back of a cabinet. There is no face frame that's attached to. And so then what you have is this completely full overlay look where there's no gap between the cabinet doors and drawers. It's a very European, very modern look. Some people, that appeals to some people. Be aware that when you do a frameless cabinet, that end piece that you can see when you open the doors and drawers is an edge banding, which is some kind of a tape. Every person, custom cabinet maker, will do that differently. It's typically some kind of a PVC edge banding that glues on to the end of the plywood sides. So be aware of that. And depending on how that's applied, what kind of warranty that comes with it, the edge banding is typically the part that will break down over time. So custom guys, custom cabinet makers can do all of this for you and make it absolutely seamless. So that you are, cabinet to cabinet. They can build cabinets where you have multiple cabinets built in a single piece. Instead of having walls between them. These have walls between them. You would have a shared wall, but not necessarily two walls with cabinets bumped up next to each other. That can be done by custom cabinet guys. And again, the sky is the limit when you talk about door style. The edge detail is also going to be only dependent and limited by the custom cabinet maker's ability to route out custom millwork. Same thing with your crown moldings. If you're wanting to do some kind of a decorative crown molding, that's also only limited by what they can purchase pre-made raw or what they can route out in their own shop. And then we'll talk more about finishes later, because that's also a pretty decent topic that we want to get into in more detail. What you do need to know about custom cabinet cabinet makers. Excuse me, I say guys a lot. Usually it's guys, but not always. So excuse my my gender specific there. Most custom cabinet makers will finish their own cabinets. And that is also dependent on your situation, your contractor. I worked for a contractor for a number of years that had their own finishing shop. So we ordered all of our custom cabinets raw, and then we did all of the finishing in our own shop so that we had control over the finished product. But most cabinet makers have their own finishing shop in-house and can do that for you or for your contractor. So those are things that you want to be aware of, questions that you want to ask. The other thing that you will get, as we talked about in the previous video, is the ability to customize the size down to the 36th or 64th of an inch, depending on the cabinet maker, and a little bit more expertise to work with your designer to make sure everything flows really smooth, and custom heights, custom depths. All of those things completely customizable. The sky's the limit. My experience is that probably 99% of all kitchens can be done by a custom cabinet maker, but not necessarily needed down to that kind of a detail. So 98 to 99% of all cabinet installations are typically within a range that can be handled by both custom and semi-custom cabinet makers and manufacturers. So just to be aware of that. Price point is typically in alignment, depending on where you're located and the availability of wood. Custom cabinet makers can range from just slightly less expensive than a completely high-end semi-custom manufacturer, all the way to much more expensive. Also, what really affects your price is your door style and what wood that you're making your cabinets out of, and then all the accessories, all the doodads that go inside, those all affect your price also. I hope this is what you needed to know about custom cabinet makers. They can be a lot of fun, very, very useful, and it's nice to keep shopping local. So custom cabinet makers are a great route to go for your own custom cabinet, kitchen package or bathroom or entertainment centers and the like. They would do all of that. So hope you enjoyed. I'll see you for the next one.